To start with, we focus on startup and small industries. So you may be aware, a corporate, it starts as a startup or a small entity. So in Japan also, you might have heard either it may be Hitachi or Mitsubishi. They all started as a startup. So I was fortunate to be in Japan to conduct a small research about IP commercialization. So there, they introduced me to one term called what is called gap funding. I don't know, many of you might have aware or not. It is a simple graph about time on the x-axis, and y-axis talks about the expenditure or the profit. It just goes like a dip. That means in the beginning, like what Mr. Vinod has said, it is innovation, R&D. You have some expenses. Then comes what is called your IPR protection. Then you start commercializing it. That is the phase, in fact, when an entrepreneur has a lot of expenditures. It may be for infrastructure, machineries, manpower, raw materials, or for IPR protection. It increases a lot. That is why the curve goes, there is a dip here. Then by the time you start manufacturing, start selling it, and making profits, then the graph goes up. So typically they call this a dip as a valley of death. So they told even in Japan, most of the startups, they disappear at the valley of death. Hope you understand what I am telling. That means you spend a lot on R&D, innovation, and if you do not get sufficient funding at the right time, the startup disappears. Many of the very good startups, they could not sustain at that time. So if they can go through that particular phase, they can grow like anything. So they were telling the examples of Hitachi and other companies. So they somehow able to sail through that difficult process. So with that in mind also, so we thought it is a cost is one of the important part. So how to help startups and small industries? That is one aspect. And generally we used to go for these awareness programs at various engineering colleges, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, everywhere. So what we generally understood about the difficulty in applying for a patent. There are two issues that was coming up always. As Vinod said, there is no dearth of innovation or creation of IPR, especially in India, there is no dearth of it. But the next stage, what is called protection, IPR protection, that is where in India we always lagged. When you have an invention, you are so enthusiastic to tell everybody. So you will tell, I have done this invention, I have done this invention. So the recognition, people are so happy with the recognition itself. In fact, even now in the front office, sometimes we used to work, or a small inventor comes to us, they start explaining their invention to me. I tell them, please do not explain your invention to me. You may feel confident that I may protect it, but unless you made a first filing, you file and disclose it. You will get an application number, later on we will publish it. But till that time, do not disclose your invention to anybody. So it is a kind of awareness. So awareness is a bit low. So you may be aware of what is called this innovation cycle. The first step is the creation of IPR, which we Indians, we are not lagging at all. But the next step is what is called the IPR protection, getting a patent, where we lagged tremendously. And this part of the cycle. So next cycle is commercialization. Then again, improve the product further. Again, that is R&D, they again patent it, they again commercialize it. It's a cycle. So that's how many of the big corporations, right from the stage of being a startup, so they've grown like that because this innovation cycle is part of their daily life. So here what happened, in fact, when we joined at the time to patent office, maybe 10 or 15 years back, we see this patent protection. So there are two things. One is they used to think it is very costly. Even though the patent filing cost in India is low compared to other countries like Europe or US, in fact, it is very considered to be expensive. Another one is the time taken to get a patent. It is a too lengthy a process. Okay, I don't have time to explain about the procedure. Just to give you an idea, so once you make an application, we publish it, then we send what is called the first examination report. And we used to take, not now, maybe a few years back, approximately around 7 years. In fact, one of the professor from one college, once he came, so there I'm just telling the expectation, he said, okay, maybe I will file for a patent today, maybe can I get it by next week or another 2 weeks? I said, it's impossible. And of course, the professor, his face turned a bit red, and then I have to explain to him, no, this is first you make a filing, then we publish it after 18 months. If you take the express route, you can get it published in 1 month. But after publication, there is a statutory period of 6 months where we may call for opposition. We will consider if there is any opposition, we are going to consider it. Then there is going to be an examination. So the process takes time. Then he asked, is there any other way to make it fast? In fact, at that time, this our expedited way of processing the applications was not there. So it was so difficult for us to explain to the stakeholders why we are taking so much of time. One is time, another is cost. So as well, let me talk about the cost first. So in the gap funding, what I said, at the startups especially, they will be overloaded with a lot of expenditure. So we came up with, earlier we had a fee structure. It considered only an individual and a company, two different fee structure was there. So we included the fee for startup as the same as for an individual. Then after the subsequent amendment, even for small entities, small and even medium scale industries, so now the fee is same. So it is almost 80% of fee concession is provided for them. And in the latest amendment, even for the educational institutions, that 80% fee concession is provided. And if you apply through online, you will get another 10% concession. So these are all the different various action taken. Then with a special focus for startups, we came up with another scheme called SIPP scheme. That is, we have a list of facilitators empaneled. And the startups can make use of those facilitators, and the professional charges of them will be reimbursed by patent office. So as far as cost is concerned, we have taken these drastic steps. Then comes the delay. So delay is one thing which we found it very difficult to answer. One is because of this awareness. So expectation of getting a patent within 1 month, 2 months is not possible. Even if you see even Japan or Europe or US, they also take 2 to 3 years or 4 years. So one of the main reasons back then was insufficient number of examiners and controllers. So in fact, around 2015, we just had around 183 examiners and controllers of just 89. Now we have around 600 plus examiners and around 240 controllers. So nowadays, you are not going to wait for 7 years to get the first examination report. Depending on the subject, you will get it probably within a few months, definitely not years. And we are still working hard to see to it that you will get, we will be talking in weeks in the future.